Hey y'all, welcome back to the Literary Apothecary. My name is Kate, and today I'm here to talk about James by Percival Everett. Now, I will talk a little bit, very briefly, about The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, which is what this book is based off of, but I won't go into a lot of detail. This will remain a spoiler-free review, so if you haven't read James yet, don't worry about getting spoiled because I won't cover spoilers in here. I will say I am hoping that the background noise isn't too much and I'm able to edit it out of this video, but of course as soon as I sit down and hit record, kids start playing outside and they're screaming, yelling voices. The neighbors feel like everyone needs to listen to their music, so there's a lot going on outside, but I wanted to get this video recorded for you all so it goes up this week. So, reasons why I read James. It was on my TBR because it is a hugely popular book. It won the Pulitzer Prize, the Book Prize, National Book Award. It's got it all. I remember reading Huckleberry Finn when I was a kid, I want to say like 5th grade, and I absolutely loved it. I was obsessed. I loved it so much. So it touched that part of my childhood. I wanted to go back and learn more about Jim, or James as he refers to himself in this book. Why did it move up on my TBR to get to be read now is because we just started this new book club at work, which I've been volunteered to lead, and this was the book that was chosen for our very first book read. It was what's the Duke read. Basically all of the freshmen at Duke each year read the same book before they come into Duke. And this was the book for the freshmen this past year. Percival Everett came to campus and spoke, and so we thought it was a great way to start off our book club at work. My general thoughts about James was that this book reached deep in my soul, pulled on my emotions, empathy, and understanding. As I mentioned, I read Huckleberry Finn back in elementary school and I loved it. I had this obsession with slave narratives at the time, and James touched that part of my reader soul. It shows that every story deserves telling from that person's point of view. It has also made me want to go back and reread Huck Finn, which I have now. I went back, I listened to an audiobook version of Huckleberry Finn, and I've got to say, now reading both books in tandem with each other, I read Huck Finn right after I finished James, and at least as an adult, where we are right now, where my life is right now, where society is right now, I much prefer James over Huck Finn. Huck Finn was fine for what it did at the time, but James is a much more personal, intimate look at that time and those stories. A brief description, I kind of touched on a little bit of what this book is about. It's a brilliant reimagining of the adventures of Huckleberry Finn, both harrowing and satirical, told from the enslaved Jim's point of view. When Jim overhears that he is about to be sold to a man in New Orleans, separated from his wife and daughter forever, he runs away until he can formulate a plan. Meanwhile, Huck has faked his own death to escape his violent father. As all readers of American literature know, thus begins the dangerous and transcendent journey by raft down the Mississippi River toward the elusive and unreliable promise of the free states and beyond. Brimming with nuanced humor and lacerating observations that have made Everett a literary icon, this brilliant and tender novel radically illuminates Jim's agency, intelligence, and compassion as never before. James is destined to be a major publishing event and a cornerstone of 21st century American literature, and I completely agree with all of that. So, I'm going to dive into my call pile categories here because I just can't wait to talk about this book, and these help me kind of focus what I talk about. Our characters. I loved seeing this story from James's point of view, and I felt like it gave so much more to this story than we originally got, which was partly intentional because Huck Finn was written as a children's story, so it's a little bit naive, a little bit limited in its view, and it's from the point of view of a white boy in the South. So the point of view of the original text was partly intentionally limited, but this just broadens that world so much in that time, and those characters, we get so much development here. Atmosphere and setting. Everett did a fantastic job of painting the settings and yet having the atmosphere one of danger. No matter what setting James was in, there was always danger for slaves. I really felt that while reading this book. And our writing style. Everett's writing style was exactly what James's story needed. The way that he dipped in and out of the, quote, slave talk and then addressed it directly on the page was perfect. Plot. This book took the classic story of Huck Finn to a whole new level. This plot was so unexpected to me. I read this and I thought, well, this is supposed to essentially be the same story from a different point of view. And I know at times Huck Finn and Jim got separated, but I don't remember a lot of this happening in Huck Finn, which is part of the reason why I wanted to go back and reread Huck Finn. This plot was so well done. Intrigue, even though I already knew the basic story from Finn's point of view, I was still intrigued to see all from James's, and now, again, as I've said before, I was intrigued to reread Huck Finn. Our logic, it all made too much logical sense. It hurt to read at times from James' point of view, in the point of view of slaves, and seeing him interact with fellow slaves and slave owners and try to explain some of these nuances to Huck, a child that didn't understand and didn't know anything more than what he knew, what he was raised with, and it was just... It was hard to read at times. Enjoyment. This book was incredible. I enjoyed it as much as you can enjoy an incredibly well-written book that hurts to read. I truly, truly loved this book. I can't talk about it enough. If you are one of many that have read James before, let me know in the comments below. What did you think of it? What was your favorite part of this book? If you've read James and Huck Finn, let me know in the comments below. Which one did you prefer? And I say if you've read Huck Finn because I thought it was one of those books that just about everyone, at least in the US, have read, but based on some chatter with the book club and other folks, this is not a book that everyone has read, and I thought it was like one of those normally required books. So I'm saying if you've read Huck Finn, whether it's after you read James, before you read James, or as a kid like me, let me know which one you prefer. And as always, keep reading, and I love you all to the moon and back. Bye.